not understanding the correlation that we're the housing provider, that we're the ones that provide the homes for the families to live in. And they don't get the connection that when you raise fees, when you make it more expensive to evict, when you try to do things to control the market, you actually do the opposite, because if it costs more money to evict, takes longer to evict, who pays for the eviction in the long run? It's not the property investor, it's the resident, it's the tenant. Rents go up. And it's been proven over and over again in states where it's harder to evict, rents are much, much higher, because that's got to be factored in. And so those risks got to be put in. But why it became investors was the freedom. So what I put it to you, all you do in short term, there's nothing to do in short term, but be clear, what you have is a job. Even if you own the company, it is just a job. You go to work and you make money based on the deals you do, and if you stop doing deals, what stops coming in? Money. Freedom, as I understood it, all I wanted to do was cash flow. Enough money coming in every month. In the old days, we called it mailbacks money, and we've been doing it so long, I still have residents that have been in the houses for 10, 20, 30 years who still mail checks in every month. I still have clients, God bless them, who drop off in the drop box at the office money orders and cashier's checks every month. Because they've been there forever and they don't trust banks, checking accounts, et cetera, et cetera. So we became investors to be free to do cash flow. And where we get perverted with seminar land is they're like going, hey, and I learned from the original guy. So I was just old enough that I caught the tail end of Bill Nickerson. Anybody heard of William Nickerson? He wrote the first book on creative financing. The Bob Allen and Al Lowry, the next generation of guys, they ripped off Bill. I think the book was How I Turned $500 into $1 million, and later was How I Turned $500 into $3 million. And he did real old school financing that still works, and he did really old school flipping. And then I learned from Nick Kuhn. Nick had 1,400 houses cash flowing when he passed away in '95, and they paid $1 million a month cash flow. You think I learned a few things from Mr. Kuhn? Yeah, Nick was a good friend. But here's what's sad. The stuff I learned from those guys in the late 70s and 80s is exactly verbatim what's taught today. Just today they pretend it's a new magic wand. It's not. I was taught, like those of you were taught, that you start out and you try and do no money down. We've all heard it, right, a billion times. No money down, low down, no credit, flip with money, get rich quick. All the sexy stuff to suck you in to buy their courses. But it was never what you wanted, because you didn't want to get rich quick. You wanted to be rich forever from cash flow. Does that make sense? And so they kind of sell us this bill of goods on how we're supposed to do it, and then they violate how businesses intrinsically work and how successful businesses work. We're supposed to pretend that doesn't happen. You know, our model is simple. We provide home ownership for the resident. Pre-Dodd-Frank, I did thousands and thousands and thousands of installment contracts. My state calls it an agreement for deed, agreement for sale. Most states call it a contract for deed, where we did owner financing, qualified you under our standards, 30-year loan, no calls, no balloons. And my son, this is my son John, and we say, hi John.
Hi John.
He graduated from college in 2014. Lady, he is single. His mother requires me to include that. And he literally had, so there was houses from the early 90s in 89 that I bought that he literally saw these people coming in after making payments for 24, 25, 26, 28 years, coming in with $3,000 or $7,000 or $10,000, whatever the last bit was, to pay the house off. And every month, people come in to pay their houses off. And so it's just like, well, you were the bank. We've been paying Bank of America for 25 years. We've just been paying Bank of Burley. So we come in and pay. In 2014, when Dodd-Frank was going live, I understand that we're in the South, because in the South and Midwest, you all have a tendency to pretend that federal laws don't apply. And they don't, until you get caught. Right? You're also taught the myth that the land trust somehow magically avoids sub 2 and provides complete asset protection, neither of which is even kind of true. Just ask anybody who got caught. And then we switched, since July of 13, 6 months before Dodd-Frank, we switched over to a 10-year option. with a lease that renews for the 10 years as long as they're in performance. The main section of performance, there's threefold, but the first one is you have to pay on time. Second one is you got to take care of it as if it was your own. And the third one is get along with your neighbors, because I don't want to deal with the police. If you do those three things, you'll own the home. And the capital investor, so we got three parties. We got the residents who move in and we provide them a home. And they otherwise couldn't provide a home, but I'm not trying to do it sneaky seminar stuff, give you a 1 or 3 year option, knowing for sure that almost no regular family is going to make that work, correct? If you do that, people who do that, they're preying on people. They're taking their money, and then I've seen those portfolios because now, you gave me, $5,000, $10,000 to move in. It was a 3-year thing. You can't fix your credit in 3 years. A year in, you figured out I screwed you. So what do you do to my house? You trash it. So in 5, 10 years, those houses look like they've been Section 8, bad culture, 25, 30-year rentals. They're just beat. So we don't do that. We want the families to win, and them winning, by the way, is on you, not on them. When I hear people blame their residents for not paying, it's not your residents' fault. You didn't do your documentation. You didn't qualify them properly. You don't have a system to do it. Our system that we teach for qualifying residents is actually from 1992, is actually superior to what the Dodd-Frank legislation was in 14. We just included common sense underwriting, because Dodd-Frank doesn't make us weigh heavily on credit on the FICO score, because the FICO score is a completely flawed model. All of this stuff, we've got an hour and a half today. All of this stuff is in our package that we'll talk to you about. It's $9.99. It'll also be covered in way more detail on Saturday if you want to come down to Nashville for the Saturday event, and we'll have a link to that for you. I then bring in a capital investor. So I can only do so many deals. I can only sign for so many loans, like every human being. We all have our number, but that's it. And I only have so much money for down payments. Are you with me? Okay, and look, I love sub-twos. Right now we're doing 3 or 4 sub-twos a month. You guys know what sub-two is? That's where we take control of the existing loan. We've had 1.75 to 3.625 interest rates that we've taken over in the last 6 months. Where I live, it is not like the good old days. They are not no money down. In the old days, when I started, 40 years ago, guys, these houses were $50,000. Closing costs were $1,000. The monthly payments were $500. They're 3 months behind. $1,500 to the lender, $1,000 for legal, $2,500, $1,000 to close, couple thousand moving money, $5,000 cleanup. $8, $10, $12, $14,000 we were in on a $50,000 house. But today these are $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 houses for most of us, correct?
Yep.
So it's not the same. They are now real world. Not that we don't sometimes get these ones that are literally no money, but real world, these are $30,000 to $75,000 now. And unlike other markets, we haven't had big crashes. Most of the people who have those great loans from 18, 19, 20, 21, the markets went, so most of them are sitting on a lot of what? Equity. So we need some money for these. And we love those and we buy them. But most of my deals in my career, because we do a volume, have been through MLS. Because MLS, depending on the town you live in, 85 to 90% of all deals happen on market. A large number of our deals, a larger percentage than half, have been with bank loans. Because most of the time, the cheapest money and the best money is from a bank. We don't do a DSCR loan. Why would I overpay on purpose? So what we do is, and what we innovated, is we bring in capital investors. So I bring in Abe as a capital investor. Abe puts up all the money. How much of the money? I need more interactive. We're a small group. How much of the money? All of it. He puts up the down payment, the closing costs, the rehab money, whatever it's going to be. We also do a reserve on every property because this is real estate. Let me help you out if you're new. Things will go wrong for sure. Veterans agree.
Yes.
Can I get an amen from the veterans? Because it's happening. So we put aside a reserve for every property that's put up by the capital investor. And then, because I run a real company and I'm a real investor, I charge a placement fee of $10,000 per door, per house. So if you're coming on for 5 houses, I make a $50,000 placement fee. And you're going, oh my God, no one I know would pay it. That's not what's really happening. What you're saying is you wouldn't pay it because you don't have the money. Because every single person who has money has been paying financial advisors for decades. True? Quite frankly, if you're doing an amazing deal and not charging for it, it's red flags and sirens going off. because who would do that for free? No one knew what they were doing. And then, basically what you are is you're the deal manager. So everybody got the basic concept? Provide home ownership, which is a great thing to do, but also just simply makes you more money. Because people will pay more money to own than rent. Owners take better care of the property than renters. We're using stereotypes because stereotypes are mostly what? True. And we're not watching CNN or Fox right now, so we don't have to listen to one side or the other's stuff. The reality is homeowners take better care of their homes. Homeowners pay better. Homeowners are willing to pay more to own than to rent. So I get more income and I have lower costs, so I get a better return. Plus I get to provide thousands of families a home of their own. And of all the thousands of families we've had cash out, meaning they paid it off and got the deed, I don't think 50 of them would have ever bought a home in the traditional model. So we do really good stuff. We just have to make sure we don't follow this theory 1 year, 3 year options where you're exploiting and screwing people. Give them 10 years, give them 30 years, give them time to run and make it work. That make sense? You know, and just, you know, we're in a new year, so it's a great time. It's always interesting, the human psychology, that January we decide this is the new year and I'm going to make my new resolution and kind of change things. I did figure out eventually, I'm saying I'm good at it, but we can do it every month. I mean, you could decide that October is the year I fix myself. You know, that's the month I fix myself rather than January. But leverage it. The most important tool you have is money. You know, my background, I learned some great things in Wall Street and some bad things in Wall Street. There's good and bad. Just like in real estate, there's good actors and bad actors, correct? We got a lot of bad actors in our industry. In the world of Wall Street, they weren't in love with their assets. And they understood one thing, that to be successful in the financial realms, you needed lots of money, period. I mean, can you do stock transactions with little or no money? Yeah, but if you were talking something in Wall Street, like, well, yeah, sure, you can buy houses, no money down, low down. Why would you, is the question. Why would you make it so hard on yourself? You know, the sub-2 transactions that are out there, and they're out there, but very few are on MLS, and those realtors won't touch that deal yet. You need the market to be meh for another 5 years for the existing realtors to learn how to do it. Because most of them are just used to, hey, all I gotta do is just list my mom's house and I'm rich. Right. They're not trained. It's not like when I was new where they got flushed out. I mean, by 85, if you didn't know how to do a sub-2 or an owner financing deal, you were done because interest rates were 18%. Ain't nobody buying investment houses at all. Nothing penciled. We learned, and this is what I say in real estate, and this I think is the biggest difference between us and everybody I've ever met, which is why we have so much. Real estate has literally nothing to do with real estate. It never has and it never will. The game of real estate is entirely about money and nothing else. If you have lots of money, real estate investing is very, very easy. And if you don't have money, real estate investing is very, very hard. And that's just the truth. The money doesn't tell you, but you can take the part from the hype. It doesn't need to be your money, but it needs to be money. And I wasn't willing to pay 18% interest and 5 points hard money. Because when I did that, there wasn't enough meat on the bone left for me. The only one who was going to get rich for sure was the hard money lender, and I was taking a lot of risk for a small return. Does that make sense?
Lunch is ready.
Go, pass it out. I'll keep going.
God, it's hot in here, ain't it? Don't turn the heat down.
So pay attention to me while she's passing the lunches out, okay? We don't want to waste 10 minutes here. So what we did, we focused on the money, we focused on the low cost of money, and we focused on bringing on a partner. We work with people in one of two ways. If you're coming on and you want to do more traditional, put down 20%, 25%, 15%, depending what your local lenders are doing. We don't use national lenders anymore, we use local lenders. Because that local savings loan, they can do whatever they want. They can loan you way more than 4 houses. It's called a non-conforming loan instead of conforming. And you pay, if you're a good investor, you pay about 0.5% more. And if you're a great investor, you pay the same as an owner-occupied. You just have to put more down. And they don't sell the loans. So if you're doing the 20% down, you may come on, we may buy 5 houses for you. You're going to do the down payments, the closing costs, and a little bit of renovation that we included that needed to be done, and a reserve for those 5 houses, and you're on for 5 houses. 5 houses, how much do I make in placement fees? $50,000. And then I get some investors are like, hey John, I don't want to pay 6%, 7%, I just want to pay cash. We pay cash non-leveraged, the rate of return is a little bit what? Lower. But there's nothing wrong, this ain't a podcast. There ain't nothing wrong with owning real estate free and clear. Lots of my investors own the real estate with me free and clear, and I own lots of real estate free and clear. Because I bought it and paid it what? Off. If he just comes on with him, I pay him a preferred rate of 4%. So basically now, we have 100% financial property gets 4%. You can't cash flow that. You really need to come to Saturday or my event in April. You can't figure out how to make money at 4. You're in deep doo-doo. And he does 5 houses. I get $50,000 upfront placement money. Placement money was designed to give me money so that I can eat and pay my bills. Just like you when you start, you can't go cold turkey trying to get $400, $500, $600, $800 a month. That takes too long to cover your monthly, right? So we get sidetracked and do short-term deals that don't make us what we want, freedom. And that's what we do. And the idea, and I mean, really, Robert talked about last night. He's been trying for 14 years to get me to come out to Tennessee. And there's nothing I have against Tennessee. The reality is I only do 3 or 4 of these a year because I'm 63 now, so I do enjoy my life more than I used to. I don't work 80 hours a week any like the old days. But the other thing is my time is really, really valuable. And I know when I'm worth an hour. And when I'm away from the company, there's a large number of people who count on me to do what I do, to run the company I do and provide housing for them. And so I've always taken that responsibility as my number one. This is our part-time gig. I hope you're having fun. We are. But you know, if you want to work with me more, you have to travel to me. I don't come to you. And so we're going to take checklists off. Got to do legal disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a accountant or tax preparer. I'm not a finance planner or investment advisor. I'm not giving investment advice. I'm not offering legal advice. I'm not offering tax advice. I'm only sharing my opinion as always as recommended that anyone considering taking action to seek appropriate advice and counsel. There. Should take care of the attorneys, right?
Yeah.
So this is a business. We run it like a business. This is a model. For those of you who want to be trailblazers and make something new up, sorry. We've been doing this for over 30 years verbatim, exactly as we teach today. And since 1992, the model hasn't changed. How we buy, where we buy, the terms of what we buy, you know, the rents, the rules from the government, that all changes. But the whole thing is always the same. Buy the assets, control them, and then put residents in. And the most important thing always was not finding a great deal, it was finding the right people. Because if you're holding for long term, you don't have the stress of I got to steal it today. I just need to buy solid today. And all I need is I need wholesale price or wholesale terms, but I don't need both. And so like in 19, 20, 21 it was easy because all the money was wholesale. The bank loans at 3, that's wholesale money. So I didn't need to get a great price, which is good because during those eras it's hard to keep people up on price. I want $10,000 up front on every property, and you should too. You should know how you make your money. I want the new resident down payment. We found real world, if you're doing any kind of volume, 2.5% to 3% is what you get from the resident to move in. That's a combination of, if it's a lease option, that's a combination of security deposit. By the way, do landlords charge security deposits? Yes or no?
Yes.
What percentage of time does the landlord charge a security deposit? 100. Yet most people who teach lease options, they don't do a security deposit. Therefore, if your tenant on non-payment and eviction shows up with an attorney, you probably don't have a lease, you probably have a construed sale, because every single contract the judge has ever seen, she always saw a security deposit, and you don't have one. Do half a month security deposit. Take yourself off that construed sale radar. Because those rules you don't want to go to. Those are nasty rules, and you're now in violation of Dodd-Frank. And you're doing a foreclosure, not an eviction. And they probably, depending on your state, just bought 6 months to a year of living in the place for free. Because you sure have to pay for it. Because the person who taught you didn't know what they were doing. The lease and option cannot touch each other, cannot be stapled together. The lease cannot reference the option. The option only references the lease one time, and that's for performance issues. That's it. It's not 2012 anymore. These are totally different docs than what we used to use. Have to be. And then I'm going to get built-in value equity. We like to buy the property for below the value it's worth today. Do I need to? No. And here's an exception. What's your name, sir?
Yeah.
True.
Bill, so, if you got a sub-2 with a 2% loan, and it's a $200,000 house, we got a 2% loan, we're banging on a 13, 14, call it 1,400 months.
I put it here and he sprayed
And
it.
I can get $2,000 a month for it in my sleep. Everybody following these numbers? I can get $600 a month in my sleep, and he basically just needs back payments made up, $5,000 walk-in money, $5,000 repair. I'm into this for maybe 20, 25 grand, and I'm gonna make $600 a month in my sleep. Who's liking the deal so far? I don't care what he owes within reason. So the house could be worth 200 and you owe 2.25, but with those terms and that low entry, I do not care. I will buy it all day long for 225,000, even though it's only worth 200, because the payment is so low. Now, if I'm doing short-term transactions, I can't touch this with a 10-foot pole. I'm gonna lose my money for sure. That's the advantage of doing long-term deals. Price is no longer the most important. So the one thing that the seller always wants is their what? Price. I'll give you your price all day long if you'll give me terms that can work for me. Does that mean every deal works? Heck no, most don't. But the ones that work, we make money on. I only do positive cash flow. I prefer to invest in areas that have a history of capital growth and appreciation. With that said, don't fool yourself in pretending that very thin deals are going to be good because they're going to go up. You don't know if they're going to go up. I've been doing this a long time. I've been in markets where 5, 6, 7 years the houses never went up and never moved. Anybody else? Sometimes markets just sit. On my spreadsheet, I always put in that the growth rate's going to be 0. Deals got to make money on cash flow alone. There's lots of ways to monetize. Next thing is principal reduction. We pay our loans off. One of the greatest things when I was in the financial industry, I had in my career over 1,000 clients who were definitely millionaires to billionaires, including a billionaire in '86. When that was, hey, that's always a lot of money, but that was a lot of money. And $10 million in the '80s. I don't know, a couple $100 million today comparatively as far as what the lifestyle is. All of those 1,000, all but 2, their personal residence was free and clear. The real money doesn't live in a podcast. They don't refinance the property. And most of them, their primary business, which was the major asset, was completely paid off, or they were on a plan to have it paid off within a few years. And most of them, as they got older, had many, many, many assets, real estate, that were free, and the end game is to have a bunch of property paid off, not to re-leverage every 5 minutes. And when people re-leverage, usually they re-leverage, interest rates are usually lowest right at the end of the run. Right? Didn't that just happen? No different than the other runs. And then they refinance, so they're over encumbered, and they refinance that debt based on right now. It's like in 2021. You know, so many people in this business in 2021, they've never, in February 21, they've never made more money in their life. They were making more commissions, more fees, more industry. They've never had it better. And when it's better than it's ever been, they buy a new house, lease 2 cars, and refinance the real estate. And nothing can go wrong.
Sure.
Yeah, I've been around a long time. I've seen people wiped out and wiped out and wiped out. There's people right now that are hitting the panic button, and we're not even in a downturn. This is just a normal market. For those of you that are new, markets don't normally go up 10, 20% a year. This is just normal now. Tax benefits. Big one is 199A as a real estate investor. If you are properly structured, 20% of the income of your company is exempt from income tax. If your accountant doesn't know that, you already know you need a new one. Don't even need to discuss it. If they don't know that basic thing. And then Section 179 has been a bonanza for many of us. Section 179, most people are familiar with cars. You know, if I buy a car that's over 2 tons, I can deduct it all in the first year. Well, there's Section 179 deductions that are available for single-family real estate, not for multi-unit. And we can easily take 8 to 12% of the purchase price as a first-year deduction, as long as it's a new acquisition by us, even in an old house. So I can buy a 20-year-old house for 200 grand, and I can get a 16 to 25,000 first-year tax deduction to offset my income. So there's cool stuff available. We maximize that. We talk about that a lot in Phoenix in April. If you want to know more, I'm on Saturday, we touch it some. I'm always open to questions and answers. And we do, and then every year we increase the what? Income. We were talking with one of the students last night. So here's what I did when I designed this model. I looked at all the cool things about notes, because notes are cool. I love the idea of very little management and getting a check every month for years and years and years and years. But what I didn't like, I love the good part of real estate. I love that I can raise rents every year. I love that I get tax benefits every year. I love that I can pay the loan off. I love that over the long term, it'll go up. What I didn't love about regular real estate was just one thing, tenants. So I had to figure out a way to own real estate without tenants. And so we did. We changed them to owners. They stopped being tenants. That whole adversarial conflict. I'm not your landlord. The water heater broke. It's your house. Fix it. That's what I do. Now, I can't help you out. I can refer you to 3 guys I know who will do the work at a fair price, but you're paying them, not me. Your home, not mine. You know, property management is usually 8-10%, right? But property management is not 10%, it's 35%. Because on a normal house, over the course of a long-term rental, about 25, the rule of thumb has always been about 25% of the income goes to expenses. By making you responsible for the expenses, on paper I get rid of that 25. 100% of it on paper, real world about 90%. But the $2,000 rent, 25% is $500 a month. If I can retain $400 or $500 of that, I just turn every mediocre deal into a great deal. That's what we do. There's a PCR code there for you. This is for Saturday. It's in Nashville, and there's a club there. If you want that, you can get it. John can provide it for you. Just, take the picture and scan it. If you're like me, you're not sure how to do that, talk to him and he'll fix it. Okay, I'll leave it up there for you. So whoever needs a picture, take a picture. Saturday will be 9 to 4. You'll have a bit of a drive. We have a plane flight. We're leaving on Sunday to the Bahamas for a week, and we were in Europe for 2 weeks over Christmas. So we actually got to go back home for a couple of days of work, and then we're coming back out Friday and doing the all-day Saturday. So it'll be 9 to 4 on Saturday. Our flight will be longer than your drive, and I'll be there. So get there. Any questions? I know you're chewing now. Burgers look good.
What are the cons?
What's that?
What are the cons?
The cons?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the cons, great question. So first of all, for some people, the money's being tied in place for the long term. So most wealthy people prefer long term over short term, but some people don't. So this isn't an out deal. So I'm not gonna, if you're my capital investor, I'm not getting your money for 90 days. And then giving it back to you. This money is going to sit here. The documents that include the packages for 30 years, the options for 10. So we're looking, if things go well, it might be 6 or 7 years, but reality it's going to be 10, 15 years to get everyone in position to pay it off. Because first thing they need to do is they need what happens to value of the house. There you go up. And this is no different than somebody who's buying an FHA or VA loan. If the market doesn't go up, it's going to take them about 7 years of making payments to be able to go out sideways after paying real estate commissions. So that would be the first one. Yeah, the other downturns are part of the model that we're very aware of is churn. You put somebody in and they don't do their job and they don't pay, and so you have to take them out. But we mitigated that because, so like if you came on and we had 5 houses, we do $5,000 per house, I have $25,000 in the reserve account. So if one of the houses or 2 of the houses goes dark, is to turn, we have money in reserve to make the payments, and then we get the properties back, we have money to do the repairs that need to be done. Insurance companies aren't as good of our friends as they used to be, because it used to be, just a nice insurance claim, get a big check, not anymore. It's got to be secure, it's got to get a check. So we've got that out of pocket, but then we move somebody and do it again, and in most cases, with the new money 90 days later from the resident, we recoup what we're out. If we don't recoup it all, then over the next several months, however long it takes, all the money comes in, I do not get paid. I work for free, because it's my fault. I reimburse the capital investor in full before I take a penny. See, we are very unique. I'm from the 2% of Wall Street. I only work for profit. If I do not generate a profit, I do not get paid. And it's amazing when the guy in charge only gets paid if they make money. They do what now? Make money. We're 34 years profitable every year across the board. Because if I'm not profitable, my family don't eat. So we make sure we're profitable. Those would be the big ones, and I think the other one for people is the psychological and emotional stuff of shifting to, wow, I am worthy and capable of going raising money. and actually becoming a successful real estate investor, and then taking that appropriate action when you know what to do. What holds most people back is themselves. True? Our own psychobabble, our own story, our own stuff. It's one of the reasons why, if you're serious, we really recommend, at the very least, come to Saturday, but if you really want to hang out with people doing it, come to Phoenix in April. There'll be people from all over the country. Tony, you've been to our event. We have 8 Century Club members at the event. These are people who have over 100 deals who keep coming back to the event. You'll meet many, many people. I love Javier. Javier literally has 10 houses. He has 11 houses and he makes $10,000 a month and retired as a keeper. So you don't need a billion houses. He just has 11 really good deals. You could live on 10 a month. If you can't, man, you're out of whack. So to me, let's do it. Your minimum standards, let's do that financial freedom thing. Let's put 10 houses in your portfolio this year. Let's figure out, use what money and ability to borrow you have now on your own to start, but then raise money and buy for the long term. And I'm seeing all sorts of influencers on Instagram going, it's a terrible time to do long-term transactions and try and do cash flow. It is, if you're one of their students, because they clearly don't know what they're doing. Of course, these are the same people that are telling you to do DSCR loans, which I understand this is what happens in the real estate investment club community. But you do know people outside the real estate investment clubs who invest in real estate don't do DSCR loans, right? Like, why would you on purpose pay it at 1.5% to 2% more interest rate when it's your biggest cost? We've never done one. I never will. And my capital investor, if you can't sign for a regular loan, well, we're not a match. You'll have to go cash or not come on, because I'm not gonna do the same amount of work for less money just because his finances are screwed up. Does that make sense? Hello? Yeah, we just say no. So have 10 properties this year. So here's a missing link. Education is great. If you've had little or no results, it's not your fault, so there's 3 key business models. So if we were to go to any great college and get an MBA, they would teach you, the essence of the 2-year MBA program would be to understand 4 core elements of a successful business. There's been lots of studies and lots of research on this. What percentage of businesses fail in the first 5 years? 50, 75, 80, whatever it is, it's way more than half. And real estate investors, I'd say it's even worse. Because you're not even trying to follow, most of us weren't even taught to follow a real business model. In life, it's often hard to find a great role model, but reverse role models are easy, right? Okay, so sometimes it's hard to find a great dad. First thing is, well, he's there. That's the first step to being a great dad, actually be there. But it's really easy to find reverse role models, right? I mean, we can find bad dads, and bad moms, and bad parents, and we can find all kinds of bad. So when we look at the bad, we then can extrapolate from the bad, okay, these are the things that they did wrong in common. So these are the things we want to never, ever what? Do. Okay, so in business, they look at why these businesses fail, and there are 3 key ideas. The first one, they're in this order. The first one is you have a great idea. Good news, real estate is. Second thing is you raise money. When they look at successful business, when you look at Bill Gates' Microsoft, he made like 1,700 presentations, had 1,200 interests, 11 came in the beginning. All 11 of those people who came in became billionaires. Can you imagine me? 1,600 and 1,800 people who told Gates no? Because Microsoft was a money raise. Apple, it was a money raise. They didn't have extraordinary products or service. Please, who uses Windows? Patches mean we sold you a piece of crap and now we're fixing it and inconveniencing you. They raise money. Great idea first. You already got your great idea of real estate. Second is you raise money. Third, you have a system to monetize it, like a real business. If you don't do those 3 things, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you are almost for sure going to fail. You only have about a 20% chance of making it. And we were all taught to go buy real estate with what? No money. You can. The real question is for money, somebody who has money, is why would you try? When it's so easy to get money. If you just shift your internal beliefs and thinking a little bit and go out and do it, then you have money, you can do it. So real estate investing, and literally, John and I were at a seminar in Vegas a month ago, John. And there were guys teaching stuff that literally I had seen taught verbatim 40 years ago. Nothing changed. It didn't work very well 40 years ago. And that was when nobody knew about it. Now everybody knows about it. It works even less. So we're taught to invest in real estate. Great idea. Got number one check. Problem started number two. We're taught to put the cart before the horse. We're taught to go out and try and find deals that you have no money for. Any realtors in the room? Okay, you're realtors in the room who do investment. The realtor community, fairly in my opinion, is disgusted with the real estate investment community because you guys have been taught to put offers on properties and you don't have any money and any ability to perform and you lie with a bogus proof of fund letter. By the way, if you haven't already bought one, do not buy a proof of fund letter for $500 to $2,500. They don't have the money. Print your own. Fraud is fraud. Why pay to be a criminal? By the way, Oklahoma is prosecuting now for non-performance. Because it's fraud to make offers when you don't have the coin. And it's ruined the business for so many of us because it's a scourge. It was hard to do that 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. It's harder today. And if you do that for a living, you probably have never thought about it. Just think about this for a moment. See, most people have never seen a podcast, been on Instagram around real estate, never been to a REIA. And to a normal person, when you come and make an offer to buy their house for cash and close in 30 days, their 100% expectation every time is that you're going to what? It never crossed their mind that there were people from their point of view who were so evil that they put properties under contract that they have no ability to ever buy. They get rid of their stuff, they go to Goodwill, they have a couple garage sales, they box everything they own, they buy or rent a new home because in 30 days they have to move. And it never crossed their mind that there have been people who've been taught to do such an extraordinarily evil act. And the whole premise is that you're basically looking for somebody with money who's stupider than you were. Because you tied it up for a price that wasn't good enough, and now you need somebody who actually has money to come and pay more than you. Yep. I love the wholesale list, where the same house is on 8 lists while it's still on the MLS. Yeah. It's a hard game. It was a hard game 40, 50 years ago when Nickerson and Kuhn were doing it. Well, 70 years ago. But nobody didn't know, nobody knew, and it was easier, less efficient markets, it was easier to move things. I mean, today, you're looking for the needle in the haystack, and you don't even have the money. That's not how real businesses do it. That'd be like if I was doing a McDonald's franchise. It's like, okay, all right, then it's a Big Mac. Okay, special sauce. Okay, let's do the lease option thing on that special sauce, and then I need pickles. Ooh, let's do an assignment contract on the pickles. And let's do a wholesale deal on the meat and maybe on the buns. Maybe I can do a 3-month option. I mean, like, and we laugh like that's ludicrous. No business would do that if that's exactly what we're trying to do. Real businesses handle the money first. And the number one failure of businesses outside of real estate and in real estate was never the idea. It was that they never had the money to succeed from the beginning. There's a few of those stories that make it. But the ones you read about, the autobiographies you download and listen to on Audible, the ones you read, the Gates and all these guys, what they really did extraordinarily well was raise money. Because it solves a lot of problems. Let's figure that out. Yep. Yeah. It doesn't mean they go away, but you can write checks when you need to.
Yep.
Third key is they don't get paid up front. So you go to McDonald's and look, man, they don't hand you the food until they already got the what? Money. They got paid. Yeah, you're taught to tie a deal up for 30 days, or God forbid if you're new and you're doing a rehab with no construction experience. Let me help you out if you're new. If you've never worked in construction, don't buy a freaking rehab. Buy from somebody who ever rehab. You don't know what you're doing. The real estate is hard enough without throwing in rehab when you don't even know how to hold a hammer. And the difference is, if you're a hardcore experienced, for you that rehab might be $10,000, and for a newbie the exact same work is $40 to $50. You don't know what to fix and you don't know who to hire. And then they help you with things. Oh, geez, new investor. Well, you know the wiring in this house isn't the code. Of course it's not, and it doesn't need to be, because it's grandfathered. Because I've talked to many people around the country where literally for 60 grand you can rewire the house if you need rewired. And boy, if you're going for the rewire, guarantee you he's got a brother-in-law who can replace your pipes too.
Been there.
Yeah, well, we all have. And look, if this is the wall to the bathroom or kitchen, you don't ever want to open this up. Because I guarantee you got mold and dry rot back there in every house that's more than 2 years old in all America. If you don't know, it's okay. If you know, you have to disclose or fix or be a felon. Because most people who are felons, they just haven't got caught yet. So we get paid up front. When my capital investor comes on, he places, we do 5 houses, 10,000 houses, I make my 50 grand. Now I'm in business, I'm real, I'm viable, I can pay my bills, I can grow my business, I can do what I need. When you knew that $10,000 seems like the biggest money in the world, when you've been doing it for a while, it's the change. The big money is the monthly cash flow and then the back cash. Yeah, and the last thing is actually run it like a business, do it. And we're just beginning this conversation for the professional real estate investment business model that we teach. Where we literally, this is a business. This is run like a business. There's all the tools and components of a real business because this is what this is. It's not a hobby. So none of you are actually a real estate investor. You are a real estate investment company. And there's a big, big difference. Start acting like one. You are the president or the CEO of a company. Act like one. Run it like a business. Spend some money on your education and your needs and your entities and infrastructure and all the cool things you need to do so that you can actually go do the transaction. But stop pretending that it ain't about money. Because that's the biggest lie. I was sold and you were all sold. We were all sold that lie that this isn't about money. And you can do deals with very low entry, but they're hard to find. And I can't say clearer than this. Real estate investing is always going to be work. And that's a 4-letter word to most people in the real estate investment community, especially the online community, because they don't think you have to what? Work. You do. The difference is it's extraordinarily high paid work. And if you shift from income today to cash flow forever, it's very, very high paid work. But it's always going to be work. The thing is, why make it hard? Imagine right now, so all of you just close your mind. Close your eyes for just a minute. Just a moment. So it's Saturday. You come to the event on Saturday, it's like, wow, this works. You invest in the package, you start listening to the audios, and while you're getting ready to go out in April, you start running the appointments, exactly like I'm going to show you how to do in a few minutes, and you have $1 million. Open your eyes. Straight up. There's $1 million in your bank account right now. Who can go out this week and find a really good deal with $1 million cash in your bank? Okay, well then that should just obviously have shifted your whole perception. Instead of looking for a deal, look for money. And keep the students I work with, and Tony, you've been to my event, the students that are very successful, we just tell it straight up. If you don't have money to do your own deals, stop trying to buy real estate. I don't want you to put any efforts into real estate at all. I want you to learn the presentation and how to raise money. If you raise money, the real estate problems go away. Real estate's very easy if you have money to buy, correct? Veterans?
Yes.
Yeah. So why stop? We were all sold this building good by seminar land. That's what we call them. The difference is seminar land, in these rooms, everything works. It's a magic wand. The course is in the back. It's $29.97. Go buy it right now. The problem is you open that door and you step out. And today she's being what should be a mean, witchy world because of the weather. It's a hard teacher. And if you don't have money when you go out that door to be a real estate investor with no money, it's a very, very hard game. True? Okay. Dave Lowen. Dave's been working with me since the early 2000s. He's a Century Club member in Canada and in America, and he mainly works with foreign national investors. He does Canadian debt, put 35% down to pay cash, different rules for them, and he's been investing for Canadians for 20 years, and most of his money just comes to him now by referral. Because if you're wealthy and you did 10 houses with me and it performed, didn't work like I did, are you going to tell your friends who are the same as you?
Yes.
Yeah. You only need 1 or 2 investors. You don't need 50 people to give you money. You need 1 or 2 good investors
and they will then provide you with an endless pipeline. Trisha, who was the first person on the slide, she's raised her minimums now to $5 million minimum. I know that's a bigger number than most are going to grab on. And she literally has them coming on referral lined up. She's currently right now passively raising money and buying 80 to 100 houses a year. Because she performs. She does what? She makes them money. And if they're rich, this has always been the number if you're rich. If you're rich, you don't want to lose money. That's far more important than trying to make a gabillion rate of return. You want to make 25% to a gabillion when you're broke. When you have money, your most important thing is to what? Not lose your money. Literally, the people that I work primarily with today, and people that Tricia works, the number's always been treasuries. It's, kid, if you can hit treasuries and give me all the tax deductions and the growth of real estate and give me income above treasuries, lock and load. People that have money, 5-6% is all you need to do cash flow. The internal rate of return, the yield will be much, much higher. And we don't have time today. On Saturday we'll show you, and April will show you in even more detail. Our yield, our internal rate of returns on the yields you would do under model, they're 35 to 70% per annum. And we'll show you on paper exactly. You can spreadsheet it forever, try and make it go away, it won't. But cash flow, first year on a cash buyer, cash only, you're looking at 5.75 in my market, in the bank for sure. Not hype, not Wall Street, in the bank account. And that's the worst year ever, it goes up from there. And if they have money, 5.75 in a safe asset, first year, plus tax benefits, plus growth, etc., that is more than enough. And quite frankly, just so you know, you're out there presenting, anything above 10% is too good to be true. Mm-hmm. Even if you make it, don't present it. Always better to overperform than under. If I promise you 10 and do 9.99, I'm a crook. If I show you 5.5 and I make 8, I'm a hero. Mm-hmm. Set yourself up to be a hero. Most salespeople lie about numbers and fudge every number in their favor, correct? Yep. Who's been on the receiving end of that? Yeah. And all you know is this person's a critic. When it's 9.5 return, you don't round it to 10, you round it down to 9. That way, like, whoa, this guy always is working against him. The numbers are always better than he says or she says. Far more trustworthy, right? Just like y'all have friends who exaggerate, right? Do you believe the friends who exaggerate or the ones who don't? The ones who don't. Money's key to real estate investing. It's more important than anything else. And here's the real secret to raising money. Since the 80s, I was able to join, and through the 90s, a very prestigious club in those areas, the people who made over $1 million a year in income. And I knew several salespeople who made millions of dollars. I knew one guy, Tom Gersey, in the 60s, selling bubbles, sealed air cork, the bubbles. He's the one that turned him into a Fortune 1000 and a Fortune 500 company. In 1969, the number 2 salesman for that company made $85,000 in commission, which in 1969 was a boatload of money. He made $6 million in commissions in 69. He really helped me refine presentation skills. Tom Hopkins is a dear friend. I've known Tommy since I was 20 years old. I knew J. Douglas Edwards, who was the man who taught Tommy. I knew Doug. People who make significant money do things differently than the rest of the people. And you can pretend they're lucky or not nice people or whatever you want to do. But the reality is when the lady at the office, the real estate agent, the same lady who's #1 for 23 years, at some point we have to acknowledge she didn't get lucky. She's better. Yeah. So you got a choice of lashing out, resenting, because nobody likes #1, correct? Nobody. Because all you do every time they see you on a subconscious level is you just remind me of what I would do if I would get out of my own story and fear and take action. And they're always willing to help. Once. The reason they don't help more is because you're not paying them for it, and you asked me what to do, and I told you what to do, and you didn't do any of it. Yep. I didn't say it was going to be easy. I told you this is how you do. Yep. Just like in real estate investing. If you want to be who wants to be a big, successful real estate investor? Yeah. The rest of you don't. Seriously, who wants to be a very successful real estate investor? Your definition. Almost for sure, you need more money than you have now. So you can pretend and avoid it for the next 5 years and struggle, or you can just switch it and figure out how to get the money. Because that problem is never going to go away until you fix it. That make sense? Yep. So fix it. I'm showing you how. Don't focus on the deal, don't focus on the rate of return. All the stuff that regular salesmen sell, don't sell it. That's the one thing the greats do. They don't do what everybody else is doing, because obviously the regular salespeople have proven this will not get you greatness. This will get you mediocrity. And the PowerPoint presentations, sorry we're using one today, the PowerPoint presentations are designed for mediocre salespeople to get mediocre results. Top performers don't use them, ever. Conversation we're about to do right now, I do on a yellow pad. I will tell you this, if you're younger, you need to double space, because most of the people who have money are older than you. And everybody says women are vain, men are more vain. She will put the readers on and he usually won't. And if he can't read what you wrote, the answer is no. So I always double space it, sometimes triple, so that he can see it. And I write it out, because I know this. I need to meet their emotional and psychological needs, and most selling doesn't address it. And the thing is, the challenge for salespeople, if you're salespeople, along with being a real estate investor, welcome to Truth 101. And the reality is, there's two major components and parts of the brain. What's the first part? What's the first part of the brain? The conscious mind. And that's the stuff that we're doing right now. Your conscious mind processes 40 bits of information per second, scientifically, factually. And what's the other mind? The other part of the mind?
Subconscious.
Subconscious, yeah. Sometimes people say unconscious. It's like, no, that's New Year's Eve. The subconscious is 90% of your processing. Your subconscious mind processes 40 million bits of information per second. Your conscious 40. Your big decisions are made emotionally by your subconscious mind. The bigger the decision, the more the emotion. And most salespeople think if I just have enough facts, figures, and numbers, and I dominate you and shove enough good things down your throat, you'll buy my stuff. That's why most of us think most salespeople are obnoxious, even if we are one. Correct?
Yep.
The great ones understand this and acknowledge this. I know, Tony, no matter how much you know, like, and trust me, 0.1 to 99.9% of your conscious mind in a selling situation believes I'm lying to you to take your what? Money. Stop pretending it's not true, it is. More importantly, though, and this is where we're going to go right now, 0.1 to 99.9% of the subconscious mind believes you're lying to take their money too. So anytime you show up with a pre-printed piece of paper with a list of bullets and benefits to your program, that is a list of pre-printed lies to take their money. Don't give them one. Don't have to. There's 7 talking points. I'd write them down on a piece of paper. When you're new, write them down, laminate it, whatever, have it inside your binder so you can cheat if you forget. Because when you're new, you're just trying to remember 13 words, not a hard. But when we're new, we do stuff. But it's a conversation. So I need to meet their needs. Zig Ziglar was a dear friend of mine before he passed in 14. We had some amazing times together. He was a beacon, you've heard of this. He was the beacon in the speaking industry. He was authentically the exact same man on the stage as he was off. And I used to do big, huge global tours. And I can tell you, without getting any names or specific or good or bad, 95% of the people that you've ever seen speak are not in real life who they present themselves on the stage. Stig was the greatest role model I ever had from a speaking point of view. He was authentically who he was. He was also the greatest for 40 years. He was the greatest platform speaker from a selling point of view that walked here. He was so good. Presentation was verbatim word for word. I saw it 18 times, and it was always within 60 seconds, start to completion. It was the same presentation every time.
Do you mind if we take a pause real fast? I want to make sure everybody knows Knox County Schools is closing early today. We just got notification. I don't know if anybody has kids or if you get traffic jams like that, but it looks like elementary schools are closing at 1 and middle and high schools are closing at 1:30. So if anybody had any, just want to make sure everybody knows that. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's, you know. Zig said, there's a lot of Zig, the best one was helping enough people get what they want, and you'll get everything you want. And that's what we designed the model on. First one, homeowner wins. I give the resident a home they couldn't buy. They are more important than the money from the capital investor, because if the client doesn't win, I can't get the great returns. See, I'm giving them a nice home in a solid Class B neighborhood. Don't do Class C. This doesn't work in Class C. It doesn't work for the culture. We're using a stereotype, but we use stereotypes because they're mostly what? True. And this ain't CNN or Fox, okay? So we don't have to go to extremes on either side. The truth is the Class C culture is what they are by choice, and they don't, the majority of them want to do it. Don't try and shove this into a Class C neighborhood. And if you have classy neighbors, strong recommendations, I have people all over, and John, you've met somebody where literally like, yep, I met John 10 years ago, I had 85 Class C properties, my life was a nightmare, I hated everything. I came out to 4 events, finally after 4 events, I listened, I sold my Class C properties, and I now have 30 Class B properties, and I make more money per month. And I have an assistant who works 20 hours a week, and I work 10. Because they got out of that whole adversarial culture. And I got rid of the landlord-tenant adversary because you're not a tenant, you're the owner. It's totally different. I mean, on a percentage basis, we get more Christmas cards than Bank of America ever saw.
Yeah.
Because I gave them a home. And that's what they want, their own home. So that's the thing, mom's got to win. Mom's home, dad uses along for the ride. If she's nice, she likes to hold the purse and pretend you're in charge. But mom buys the house 95% of the time. Don't even talk to dad, he's just baggage along the way. Mom's in charge. Correct, ladies? Yeah, okay. I live in the real world, not a seminar. And so I got to meet their needs. So they win. Then the capital investor wins. So right now, we're going to show you how to meet people's emotional and psychological needs so that they will place with you so that you can then implement this program. There's 6 talking points. It goes like this. It's a conversation. So it's a what?
Conversation.
It's not about real estate. This is good for some of you because you know very little about real estate. Good. The less you know, the better. Because most people who object to what you offer, the only reason they object is because you wouldn't stop doing the seminar. See, they don't want an educational seminar about real estate investing. They want to understand how you can meet their needs. If they wanted to be a real estate investor, they'd already be one. Because they don't want real estate. They want the benefits that your program provides. There's a difference. Does that make sense? This ain't about talking them into real estate. Usually in the beginning, the sale you're trying to make, if you're trying to sell you, then it's a good deal.
Yep.
So, we do an elevator talk. We have a private equity company. We invest primarily in single-family portfolio in safe neighborhoods for the long term. And then, boom, right into the conference. That's it. They can always ask more questions later. But you don't do a real estate dog and pony show, because you do a real estate dog and pony show where you start breaking out spreadsheets, no matter what's on that spreadsheet, something can be contested. You just created objections for no reason. When I meet with successful business owners such as yourself, they tell me it's paramount that their money is safe at all times. Would you agree safety is important to you? Every single person who has money is going to say what 100% of the time? Yeah. It's a script that's in the program for $9.97. It's a script. It's a what? We stumble over important on purpose. And I then go to the word paramount. Because everybody say paramount. It's an extremely elegant word. Most people don't know exactly what paramount means, but they know it's more important than important. And I got their attention. And then we talk about safety, and this would be 2 to 10 minutes. So why is safety important to you? Every single person who's over 50 years old, who's alive with money, psychologically devastated as those 2 generations from the 2008 to 10 meltdown by January of 10 when they lost at least 1/3 of everything they've been invested. And if you didn't lose it, try and connect and put your feet in their shoes. So we're like, well, I wouldn't have a problem if I went from $1.2 million to $800,000. Well, that's why God didn't give you 1.2. You're a lousy steward. It's a big problem, and it emotionally scars them. It's estimated right now that 92 to 93% of them are psychologically and emotionally incapable of deploying. They can't get back into the market. They don't know what to do. They're so scared to lose. They don't make any decision. And look, I'm not here to do 5 years of psychoanalysis and fix you. I'm here to place your funds. So we go right to where other salespeople never do. We go right to what's important to them, safety. And we talk about why safety is important. And was your money ever not safe? And you lost money before. And all those stories are going to come up. Traditional selling says don't go negative. The greatest ones take it negative as fast as they possibly can. We need to deal with the truth. Then we talk about security. For some people, their operative subconscious word is safety. For some, it's security. It's about 75% safety, 25% security. But I don't know which one you are, and I can't ask you because in most cases, you don't know either. That's part of the problem. The 2 biggest IRA companies, 40% of their capital is non-deployed, sitting in an account earning 0. And those are people who move self-directed. And trust, the big ones. It's estimated that 40 to 60% of self-directed money is non-deployed. It's just sitting there waiting for you to show up and help. We then talk about security. In a post-Madoff world, Bernie Madoff, safety is paramount. Don't forget it. When you don't have the money you want, you're focused on return, and that's good. That means you're going to manage the properties great, but it's not what they're focused on. To them, any return above 10% means risk and losing, and they emotionally and psychologically cannot do it again. It's why factually, big crashes happen every 60 to 90 years. In the United States, we have charts that go back to 1765. We've had 4 big crashes in our country's history. 1791, 1872, 1932, and 2008. That's it. You go back to British Commonwealth. England has charts going back to the 11th century, every 60 to 90 years. And there's charts going back in the eastern part of the world, Mesopotamia, Babylon, those countries, you know, their modern day versions of literally have 6,000-year charts, and it's 60 to 90 years. Because after a big crash, history does not repeat itself. People forget history. Because after a big crash, parents who had the money or the grandparents are so emotionally harmed that those stories and lessons are taught to the children. And then the children remember, but they don't pass it on to their kids. So 3 or 4 generations later, you see big crashes all over again. There's nothing on the horizon for a big mega crash because the people who have the money aren't deployed in risky assets. They're out because they're more afraid of losing than winning. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
There's an opportunity cost to safety and security.
There can be.
There is.
Yeah, if you're not deployed. So here's what I'm acknowledging for them. I'm understanding that, and we're to share it, but I'm understanding that 90+% of the time, because again, they're not sitting at a REIA. 90% of the time, they're not deployed well, and they know it, but they don't know how to fix it on their own. They've been waiting for someone to help them. They haven't gone through and analyzed that the problem is safety or security. They just know that they can't find the quote-unquote right deal. See, if losing wasn't an issue, it may be in really bad assets, but it's placed. So like in 2004, if you were coming out with me, you were selling that pretty fourplex, you bought it in Mobile, Alabama, you were getting rid of that $300,000 dog mutual fund that never performed. You were selling your bad assets to buy my perceived better assets, correct? But following a crash, which are every 60 to 90 years, so most of us in this room won't live long enough to see another real crash, that shifts. Because it's not a greed, it's a safety. For most people who have money. For most. So we addressed that. This is Eric. Come out to Phoenix on April 4th to 7th. You'll meet Eric. He has over 200 houses, long-term Burley houses. He owns office buildings, warehouse, post office, mini storage, land, apartments. He's built 8 apartments. You know, Tony, you know Eric. Remember that one apartment he bought with 3 buildings? He put 5 more buildings on it. And a gas well. That one he just kind of lucked into. A gas company came and offered him 6 figures and like $20,000 a month to pump gas from under his land. He said, sure. And he'll be there helping you guys. One of the things we do where the events are so different is, and for some of you just a little bit, you'll come to the event, you'll buy in. You'll drink the Kool-Aid. You guys know what I mean? So when I went to my first real estate seminar, and it was Al Lowry, and then from people at the event, it's like, Lowry's just a copycat, he's just a clone. You need to go to the source. You know, you need to go to Bill. You need to go to the guy who actually invented this stuff. And then that led me to Nick and all that. But when I went to my first seminar, it was all low down, no money down, subject to, there wasn't a due on sale yet. That was just happening. And I drank the Kool-Aid. The problem is I drank the wrong flavor. I drank the green Kool-Aid. Now when I grew up, we had those Kool-Aid. Mom would get the variety pack because it was a better deal. The greens were always drank last because they're just nasty. Nobody wants green Kool-Aid on purpose. And then it took me about a decade, and after a decade, it's like, why am I trying to do these deals that are so extraordinarily hard when I do know how to raise money? Why don't I just raise money and then do deals that'll make me cash flow? I never went back. I've had a couple accidental flips in the last 30 years, but that's it. Just because the guy doesn't quite work, we'll dump it. Or sometimes later when I buy a portfolio, of 100 houses in Birmingham, which I did, we had 104, and like 5 of them were so toxic, so like just, the portfolio is great, sell these 5 as fast as you possibly can for $10,000 to $15,000 loss because they will never ever work based on the neighborhood they're in. Does that make sense? Because when you buy portfolios, you get some garbage with the good. And Eric will be there, because one of the things we do is we teach is that, look, you have a responsibility. If you go run with this and successful, a big part of it's not just going to be because of me. It's going to be because of our culture and all the successful people from multiple generations that are in that room. And they're there because somebody helped them. You know, and you talk to a guy like Dave who's been around for over 20 years, he'll tell you about people from 25, 30 years ago who had 1,000+ houses and what they did for him. And so we all have a responsibility to share with the next generation. Does that make sense? Which makes our events extraordinarily unique and individual, like doesn't exist in the world, and that was intentional and deliberate. The next thing we do is we talk about long term. I want long term because I want income streams. I don't want 50, I literally have a deal now. The one we just did down in Rock Canyon, I've got a neighbor's friend wants to give me $50,000 down payment cash and buy it. And then carry payments, and I'd make like $200 a month. And pay me off in 5 years. But this house is a really good one. It's a sub 2 and 2.625 interest, but they walked away from almost 100 in equity. That doesn't happen often anymore, but it happened. And we make over $1,000 a month. I don't want 50 grand. I want $1,000 a month. Because I don't need the 50 anymore because I got enough of the 10s. Does that make sense? So I just want the long-term industry. I want long-term. Now, from my days in financial planning, almost all of my clients wanted long-term. So it's either do short-term deals, stop calling them flips. Think about the vocabulary, for God's sake. Most people, when they're frying an egg, are afraid to flip it because it will what? Break. And you want them to flip their entire life's fortune. Get a better word. It's a bad word. So many negatives. But most people don't want in and out because they're not at a REIA meeting. If you're at a REIA meeting, then you don't need me unless you're retiring. You don't need me. You know how to do it. Now, you don't need to give me money. You need to go deploy your own. Let me teach you how to deploy. And so what we do is we just focus on the long term. Because here's what they want to do. See, my capital investors are just like you, and they're just like me. They want the exact same thing. Here's what they wanted. They want the ability to have the option. To have the what? The option. Because most really successful people like their job. They like their work, and they're good at it. True? They like their company, but they don't have time or inclination or interest to invest well because it's not what they do. And just because you make $250,000, $500,000, $1 million a year at what you do for work doesn't mean you know how to deploy assets, nor do you want to spend the time and the years to learn how to do it properly. They want to be able to have the option to retire earlier and better than their current plan. Isn't that what you want? I mean, I've never retired. I don't know that I ever fully retired. I don't work like I used to, but I still do work. But I had that option. And I was fortunate and blessed because I switched from seminar land and quick cash deals that went just to cash flow. That by 32, my wife and I had enough cash flow that if we never wanted to do anything than just anything in our portfolio, we could. We could have never bought a house again, never taught an event, and been good. Not good, great. Because cash flow is power. You know, people say cash is king, and they're right. But the emperor who's above the kings, the emperor is cash flow. Always has been. So we do long term. And that's what they want. They want to make what they feel is a good decision one time and let it run forever. Next one's cash flow. My good friend Robert Kiyosaki. When I first met him in '92, he was Bob Kiyosaki. He's a rich dad guy. Who played Cash Flow 101? Yeah, I'm the main contributor to the game. I have the third game that was produced. We did a lot of work. The Kiyosaki's up through 2010, almost every real estate deal he ever talked about was actually done by myself or another guy named Bill Shapa. We did his placements because he was on the road 250, 275 days a year. If you're on the road 255, 275 days a year teaching, are you at home running an investment company? Yes or no? No. If you are, it is a bad investment company. And so he always just gave the money to me. And we used to share stages all the time when I was still doing those talks. And he'd always say, look, you know, here's the thing with Burley. Half of what John makes is more than I've ever made. It's just the truth. You follow my model and do what we do, and you learn how to raise those income streams and to reduce those costs, you will make returns that other people don't make. Half of what we produce is more than what he ever made on his own. And then the other one, and this to me was the big comp, and he goes, and I don't have enough money for Burley to abscond it and embezzle it and run away to an island. because we were very, very successful. Most rooms I'm in, including rooms with 10,000 people, I literally have done more real estate deals than anybody in the room, and in most cases, we've done more deals than everybody in the room combined. See, it's not that I'm a genius or really, really smart. I did so many deals, I figured out every single way not to do a deal. Ergo, I then figured out this is what's left, this is how we do it, and just a cookie cutter that we've just been stamping out over and over and over and over again since 1992. By 92, we had the model fully refined. Other than regs and government changes and market change, we shipped that, but the model has never changed. So we do cash flow. That's what they want. That's freedom. That's what they're craving. And Wall Street doesn't provide it. I mean, right now, Wall Street's got the best cash flow they've had in years, a little over 5%. Woohoo! No tax benefits, no growth, no principal reduction, no upside. Woohoo! Fully taxed. And regular people who make money pay 40%, pay 39.6 federal plus state. In today's volatile markets, in addition to preservation capital, safety and security, people with means, rich people are looking for the long term cash flow. And that's what we provide. This is Josh from Pittsburgh. He was a traditional rehabber. Josh actually is one of the, wasn't the first, but he's one of the ones, if you're a rehabber, Josh will let you know, come out to Phoenix. We have a rehab program for rehabbers. Now you can benefit from the rehab because you can buy properties other people wouldn't touch, and you know how to do $40,000 worth of work for 10 grand. So you can get a little better deals. But move off of the quick cash, permanent work game to the cash flow game. Next two talking points, tax benefits. Let me help you out. Here's what you say. Real estate has a lot of tax benefits, and you smile. Because everybody who has money has heard real estate has tax benefits. You do not want to get into a conversation about 199A or 172 or 162C or any of the tax codes unless you can actually do it. And even if you know what you're doing, you just opened a can of worms. Do you really want to have to do a tax lecture? And their accountants and CPAs, even the worst accountants and CPAs will tell people that real estate has good tax benefits. People who are rich like tax benefits. Real estate provides tax benefits. We'll show you, come out in April, we'll show you how to move those up way more than you thought possible, and it'll actually work when you get audited and have a return. And then the rate of return. This is where most people who raise money lose the money, because you promise 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. You promise rate returns that are so ludicrous. And you didn't ask for any money up front. So if I'm a person of money, even if you really do make me 25%, you're telling me 25% and you're not getting any money up front. I've been around the block a few times. I put money into bad things before. That's all I'm smelling here. The kid who doesn't know what he's doing, whether that kid is 20 or 90. That's all I'm seeing. Does that make sense? Not charging an upfront fee like every other legitimate operator in the financial world does, except for the silly old real estate does. Hurt your cause, not help someone. Because nobody would do what we teach you to do for free. Nobody. True? And then on the rate of return, I tell people 5 to 6%. Yeah, I tell people 5 to 6%. We'll then show them, and I'll show you on Saturday, and we'll show you in April that the spreadsheet will actually show that it's quite a bit more. We do a spreadsheet that's just a drawing of a house, not a traditional spreadsheet. Because how many of you done this? Somebody's interested, and you give them a brochure or a flyer. You tell them about the house. You tell them about your numbers. You got your benefits printed. You got a spreadsheet. You give it to them, and they like what you said, but you never ever get any money. Well, first of all, your spreadsheet, if you're young, you did it like 8 or 10 points. You got to understand that people like me who have money, we can't read it. We can't read the font. It's too small. And then the other thing is on that spreadsheet, no matter what you did, there's something that I can contest and argue about. Don't ever hand them a spreadsheet. Traditional one. We'll show you how to draw a house on Saturday and in April. And that's a spreadsheet that will show the return. And most of you will be doing 11, 12, 15% as newer people in this business on this model. Cash flow, and they get half. And the game has always been, if they have any money, folks, the game has always been, if I can get you treasury income plus, and then give you tax benefits, and then give you growth. And if we're leveraged paid off, that's all you ever needed to do. And the more money they have, the lower expectation for return. Because they've done enough high return things with salespeople that went bad often. Right? And our whole model is designed not to lose money. I mean, mine, look at as the founder and CEO of the first for-profit, single-family big portfolio company in America. My job's always been to reduce and mitigate risk. Not to be the most creative cat who ever lived, but to reduce and mitigate risk. Translation, don't lose their money. That's why they keep coming back complacent. And yeah, we get barn burner runs. And sure, when you got a good portfolio and a 19, 20, 21 happens, I mean, that's amazing because, you know, everybody's like, oh, it's terrible, everything's going up. It's like, no, it's great. And if you've been in the game for a while, the market you want is the one everybody's afraid of. You want a crash. You want a downturn. I mean, the greatest blessing I ever got was 2008. An interesting fact, 2008 to 12, those 5 years, was the highest retention and payment rate of residents in the history of the company. 91% of our residents did nothing but stay and pay. But here's the difference. Back then, most of my residents were 40 FICO points away from a $500,000 loan. And I put them into a $200,000 home they could afford. So when the crash happened, they weren't buried in a toxic loan. They weren't buried in payment they couldn't. And I remember what my grandpa taught me over and over again. During the Great Depression, families hunkered together, but they went to the person who owned the home. The renters in the family moved in with the owner. That makes sense? Because they kept the home. These were these families' homes. They owned them, so they just hunkered down and they paid them. I'd have a man-to-man talk and give fatherly advice to men who were 20 and 30 years older than me at the time, and go, look, maybe you suck the pride up a little bit and go get a job. Well, 7-Eleven's higher. When I was a young boy, twice my dad lost big high-paying jobs, and twice he went back to basically his high school job. But instead of being the box boy or the cashier, he was the night manager of the cashier and box boy. I'm sure he hated it. I'm sure he didn't enjoy it, but he did his job. He kept food in myself and my 3 brothers' bellies, and he kept a roof over our head. And he did that twice when I was a young boy. Rate of return, we keep it low. Look, if you're losing deals, talking about the returns and all that, that's why. So again, we've looked at how salespeople lose deals, and so we just don't do it. And this is what the producers do, this is what we do. Myself, I've raised over $600 million. Our students have raised over $10 billion. If you come out in April, you will meet many, many debt millionaires from the program. Nicole Hutmacher, not a normal experience. Her first year, she did over 100 single-family homes and had over $1 million in tax deductions from them. Her family owns another business that makes money, and they literally only get $1 million a year in tax benefits to wipe out the profits from the other company on paper. They did. She'll be in there in April. And do you like the fact that the pictures I put up, these are people you can actually come and meet for real? Yeah, not a picture of somebody from 15 years ago. Andy Kale, he does lots of sub-2 and owner financing deals. He's down in Tucson, Arizona. He really struggled with his story for a while. You remember Andy, right? When you and me had like 10 or 15, it's like 110 houses now.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Andy worked through his emotional stuff. Yeah. And we call it story. The stuff you tell yourself so you don't do what you should do. Your stories are real. They're what? They're real, but they're not true. Because no matter what your problems are, no matter what you think, I can show you person after person that's come through our system who is more screwed up than you, who is now extraordinarily successful. Stories would hold most back from doing. And 7, talking point, capital growth or appreciation. Be cautious with the word appreciation. There's a lot of fear in the market that's being put out by media and social media, by influencers who are trying to sell you their courses, and negative news sells better than positive news. The basis for a crash, none of the numbers work, and their precious spreadsheet, the Big Daddy, shows that their projections and what's going to happen is wrong. And I'll be really clear. If you've been around, you can look at history, you can follow your intuition, your gut and all that, but I do not know what the market's going to do, and no human being does. God and Jesus do. I'm close to both. Neither talking on this subject. If they're truly telling you I'd like to talk to you after, so far everyone who wanted to talk to me after who said they knew was a crazy person. I've never met a prophet on deals on the real estate market's future. Appreciation is why the last 2 generations who are living, who have the money, is what Wall Street's very good on the psychology. I was very high-end in Wall Street, so I got to go to the big meetings with the high-end producers. And almost the entire meetings with all the research and study they've done, tens of millions of dollars a year in the 80s they spent, to research their clients, how they bought, how they didn't buy. Who's heard of the book, The Millionaire Next Door? Yeah, some of my clients were in that study.
Dr. Stanley.
Yeah. It was a study paid for by LIMRA, Life Insurance Marketing Research Association, and then they gave them the rights to produce the book. They should have done.
He died in a plane crash, I think, didn't he?
Not
Or
sure.
car accident or something.
Yeah, not sure, not sure. So it's not about the real estate, it's not about the deal, it's about the money, it's the numbers. So, Saturday you can come see me. Bit of a drive. There's a scan to register. If you still need it afterwards, talk to John. We have our system. First off, secret to raising private money. It's 26 digital CDs. This is a big package on purpose because I don't travel much, and I want to give you the tools to succeed, and I want you to be able to go through this stuff and really refine it, start working it, so then when you come out in April, you're ready to run. Does that make sense? Now, some won't do any of the work, but if you do the work, you're going to be more successful. We updated a few years back, so we have a 3.0, secret to raising private money. Who thinks you're going to get objections when you start presenting? Let me help you. You absolutely will. How would you like it if I told you what the main objections you're going to get and then showed you exactly the sequence to handle them and gave you the answers? That's what we did. Private money contracts, the exact documents that I use today with private money investors, we provide for you verbatim. The Dodd-Frank solution, this is how to be in compliance with that government. I'm very, very high profile in a full disclosure state with 2 law firms who hunt violations. If you want to be laissez-faire, non-compliant, I ain't your guys. We're in the South. You got plenty of educators who act like rules don't apply. They do. I'm from the brokerage industry, where if you do nothing wrong and only provided wins and rewards and had 0 SEC complaints, 0 complaints with the state, it was still normal every 18 months to 2 years for a regulatory agency to come into the office and give you a piece of paper requesting documents and information that would cost you $50,000 to $100,000 to comply. I'm a compliance guy. Because I know people who went to jail for non-compliance. I'm a compliance guy. So we're going to show you how to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. The contracts and documents. Now, if I'm working with a realtor, look, I ain't brain dead. I live in the real world. If I'm working with you as a realtor, I need to use the Tennessee Standard Uniform Real Estate Contract. Because that's the only one you can work with, right? Stop doing what these seminar people told you to do and give her some fancy document. She can't use it. And she's going to tell the client, no. I use her. And also, don't put under just a list of reasons why I'm not going to perform, right? Almost always the only one we have is just the state inspection clause. So, but when you're remarketing on owner financing, when you're buying on owner financing, when you're not using a realtor, you need specific documents. Ours are there and they're full compliant. We talk about the creative financing. There's a lot of package. And we talk about how we cash flow real estate. So the model for when you're putting somebody into the property. And then 2 tickets to the April 4th to 7th event. That's for you and a family member, or a partner, or a business partner, not for somebody you met today. And you get the appointment scripts, the scripts to sell appointments. By the way, if you're selling appointments and you don't invest in the program, if you say real estate or investing on the phone, your best friend will probably tell you no. You want to come by and share with them what you're doing and get their opinion. So the whole thing there, that's the value. $14.97. We've got a travel bonus for you, so it's $9.97. We finish up. There's more money in cash right now in the history of the world. There are billions and billions and billions of dollars. Retirement accounts right now have over $1 trillion. There's huge amounts non-deployed. And it ain't 20, 30 years ago. All of us know people who have worked at a good company for 20 or 30 years who literally have $500,000 plus in their 401k to be deployed. And the vast majority of people who are rich are literally just a millionaire next door. And there's currently 34 million millionaires in America, and most of them don't look like millionaires, and they hate doing podcasts. We're going to show you how to meet their needs and get the cash. The travel bonus is $9.97. You get all the product, and it's there. And look, it's a proven system. This works. It's helped lots of people. If you want to up the game, make the shift. Come down to Saturday or get the package today. We'd love to see you in April. See you on Saturday. I'm done. Thank you much. Whatever time you have, I'll answer some questions.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Anybody has any questions for him? John or John will be able to help you with any.
He can answer 98% of my questions. So, John does our acquisitions. He's head of acquisitions, and he also manages the people who manage the portfolio.
And I will tell y'all that Robert Moen runs the Knoxville Area, great people over there. We went to Nashville twice last year for their meetings. They will welcome you with open arms. It'll be fine. Don't worry.
Bye.